Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to be working on a new junk journal. It's going to be a hardcover junk journal for Christmas. I started doing this junk journal on Christmas Day. I decided to do a journal for me for Christmas. Even though I had bought one from Etsy, and the one that I bought, it's pretty well made and it was quite expensive. So it's a really nice journal. However, I felt that there was something that wasn't quite right. And, I don't want to sound shallow or anything, but I just thought that maybe if I made my own, it would satisfy me as the perfect Christmas journal for me. And so I started making a journal, and I decided to record myself making the journal so that I could share with you guys, just show you my process of how I start my journals. So it's not technically a step-by-step DIY. I'm just showing you my process. And what you guys have been looking at is the first thing I did was I took out the spine from the book. I cleaned it up a little bit, make sure there were no loose ends on the paper that makes the cover, because sometimes when you take out the spine, there could be some edges of the paper that are a little bit sticking out or that don't have glue in it. And then you want to make sure that that is clean, that everything is solid, glued in. And so then I put some different type of layers of the cereal box. I glued them together and I made a strong spine. So that's what you guys were looking at while I was introducing the video. Now I am gluing the Cheerios layers, the spine that I made, into this. These are like napkins that I bought from, I think it was eBay. They were like for $1 the pack. And I wasn't really satisfied with the fabric because it's very thin. So I was afraid that the fabric wasn't going to hold, it wasn't going to be strong enough, but I still wanted to use it. So I folded it over, glued together something, then I put it through my sewing machine just to make sure that the fabric, it's not going to come undone, it's not going to rip apart, it's going to be super strong. So when you do a book like this one, I do recommend that you use a very strong fabric. Like if you can use a canvas type of material, that's good. But preferably a fabric that, even though it's strong, it's very, very flexible. Because if you're gonna put gesso and then paint it over, you don't want it to be stiff. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I do my spine. I glue it together, several layers. I make it, thick enough to go with the covers. Then I glue it into a piece of fabric. I leave a space on each side so that it could go over the covers and, and fold there. Now what I want to do is I want to leave a little bit like a small gap in between the cover and the spine, but I don't want it to necessarily seem like there's a gap in there. I just want the fabric to form the gap, but I want the fabric to fold in. So that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to get the fabric to fold in where the gap is in between the spine and the cover. This type of glue that I'm using, it's called a PVA. It's PVA glue. And this glue, I bought it from Bleak's Art Supply, and it's supposed to be for bookbinding. It says right here on the label that is ideal for bookbinding and paper projects. So that's why I bought it. But in all honesty, if you can just get the original tacky glue from, any craft store, that's like $3 the bottle or even less, you'll be fine. Because the original tacky glue, Eileen's original tacky glue, that glue is amazing. It glues everything. You just got to give it some time to dry. The PVA glue, it's more watery in consistency than the original tacky glue, but at the same time it dries very, very quickly. So that's why it's better for fabric than the original tacky glue, because you want it to be able to dry quickly. when I say dry quickly, I don't mean like hot glue type of quickly. Hot glue dries like instantly, right? No, what I mean when I say dry quickly is that it doesn't take, it won't take like 24 hours to completely dry. Original Stocky glue, when you're gluing fabric to paper and such things, like if it's something that you want it to be super, super dry and strong, like the spine, you don't want the spine, you don't want to work on your book while your spine is still drying, because then it's going to come apart. Then you have to wait for like, I guess I would say probably 8 to 16 hours. I would give it to fully dry, depending on the thickness of the fabric and you know, the type of project that you're doing. But overall, Original Stocky glue, it works just as fine as PVA, and it's amazing. I love it. The only thing is that I had already bought PVA, so I have this policy that I have to use everything I buy. If I don't return it, because why did I buy it for it? Just want to make sure that I get my money's worth. So here I have completely secured my spine with the fabric. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use newsprint paper to make sure that the inside of the spine with the cover are completely sealed and secure. Now, if you are not familiar with newsprint is used for sketches, mainly. That's what it's mainly used for. But it's really good to do paper projects where it involves glue, because newsprint, once it glues, like if you would do mud patch with newsprint, which is what I'm gonna do now, newsprint becomes super hard and strong. Once it's glued, oh my gosh, that paper is like cement, okay? And that's what you want for your spine and your cover. You want it to be completely tight in there and secure. And at the same time, you want it to be flexible. That's why you want to use fabric on the outside of the book, but on the inside for the spine and the cover, you want to use newsprint. Now, I have watched quite a few junk journal artists on YouTube, and I have not seen anybody use newsprint for their books except for this girl. I think her channel's name is I'm a Cool Mom. I was amazed when I was watching her, because I have never seen like any of the big YouTube names use newsprint to secure their spine and cover. And if they do, it's not something that they show on their videos, right? So when I saw her doing it, I was like, all right, yeah, because it's like a really, really, really good technique. Get a hold of newsprint and play with it because it really is a good technique. And so I felt compelled to mention her because she uses it. However, she doesn't use it the way I use it. She just glues down the newsprint on all over, like the size of the entire cover, front and back. What I do is I Mod Podge it. I just Mod Podge it on the area, like enough so that I know that it's gonna hold. So we cannot use it for the same purpose, but we use it in a different way, right? Here on the outside of the cover, I am using newsprint again, but in this time, I'm not using it to hold my spine together. I'm using it to create texture. Like I said, newsprint becomes like cement paper once it's glued on a surface. And if you glue on top of it more newsprint, it's gonna make the appearance that is like some sort of wood or something, right? Like it's got texture and it's gonna make your book cover look amazing. It's gonna look really, really nice. So that's why I love newsprint. I love it. I've had newsprint since I was going to college when I was 18 or 17, because I graduated when I was 17. So I've been going to college since 17th, and I've been using newsprint since then because I went to college for an art major, and I used newsprint to sketch. It wasn't until my mid-20s, I was still going to college. It took me a long time to do my college years because I was working full-time while I was going to school. So school was more like a part-time for me. But so in my mid-20s, it was when I realized that newsprint was amazing for this type of projects where you have to glue paper on top of paper and just create a strong, very secure layer. And so ever since then, I've been using it for that purpose. So that's what I'm doing here. And what's gonna happen after I glue it, I do give it some time to dry because this is Mod Podge. What I use for Mod Podge, well, obviously the Mod Podge glue, but the one I use is the matte finish. The container has a blue label, so that's the one I use. And after I Mod Podge it, I'm going to gesso the entire thing. And what this does, aside from creating a very cool texture, it's gonna level somehow my book. It's gonna level the fabric together with the cover. This is a Christmas journal, so I'm going to use a lot of Christmas theme paper. For this journal, I am not going to do a painting for the cover. I'm going to just glue down this. It's a carton paper, but it comes from a Christmas box, you know, a gift box, and I really liked it, so I saved it after Christmas, and I cut it down to a good size for the cover. And it doesn't matter that it doesn't really cover the entire, like it's not the same size as the actual cover of the book, because I'm going to lay down some newsprint and seal the edges with the newsprint and make it seem, I do like the idea of the edges, but I didn't want it to be so rough or obvious. So I'm going to seal it with newsprint before I do the gesso. So for this is what I use, you guys. I don't have a paper press compressor or whatever the name is for when you need to make sure that your paper is completely sealed. So I use my bottles and my cups and, you know, whatever I have that's very heavy. I do have a paperweight kind of thing, but that's the only one. I only have one. So that's what I use to make sure that the edges are completely sealed in and glued. You don't want it to come apart. Trust me, it will come apart if it doesn't glue properly. So now what I'm doing, like I said, is just finalizing that by properly sealing it with newsprint. Now newsprint, as you can see, is a very thin paper, but it's really strong. It can tear super easily, but again, it's really strong. When you do mud patch with it, you know, I can't really describe it that well. You would have to probably like experience what I'm saying, like just use it in one of your projects. And if you have used it before, then great. You know, I mean, I know I'm not the only person that uses newsprint. Like I said, this other girl on YouTube, I've seen her use newsprint, but I'm sure there are many other people that use newsprint for something other than sketching, but I just haven't really seen it around, you know, only from that one YouTuber. So I think it's a really good technique, and I just hope that somebody, whoever's watching, tries it out and, you know, puts it to good use. So here what I'm doing is I'm doing the Christmas journal with Christmas paper that, you know, I got on my gifts or my son's gifts. And so this is a tissue paper that's really cute, and I'm using it to just, you know, do a design on the cover. Now I'm applying gesso. but I really don't want to cover the tissue paper print. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to gesso everything in a way that you can still see the print of the paper and the cardboard, the piece of the cardboard box. So this, after I do the gesso, this will be the end for this episode. I just want to say real quick that I did record the entire process. I recorded when I painted the book. I recorded when I did stenciling, when I applied glitter to the stencil, gold watercolor. I recorded everything. However, I lost that video and there's no way I can get it back. So I have to apologize for that. In the next episode, I will show you guys what I did to the cover. I'll explain everything before I show you guys how I do how I put my signatures together. Okay, so enjoy what's left of the video, and until then, journal lots and lots. Bye bye.